Hello everyone, Zellerint here, and with Copan Ricky coming out here in the next few days, we just got the announcement also for the new dirt tracks being added into the game, which includes 4 new G1s. And so I thought we'd go ahead and take a look at this announcement on these tracks that'll be coming out here on July 14th, as this will change things up a little bit when it comes to your parent and grandparents. It's kind of the one reason I've been holding off on making a guide on parents and grandparents, because these will kind of alter how you want to play out your dirt rotation, as well as when it comes to building your UMA parents and grandparents through the auto system, as you can min-max the dirt, even if you don't really have heavy dirt sparks utilizing the system. So first we'll go through the announcement, and then we'll kind of look how this is going to change your parent and grandparent runs, not only manually, but also when you use the auto system. That'll be coming out with the 1.5 anniversary. So right off the bat, we have the announcement, July 14th update. We're getting the new race courses and dirt races. This is going to be the Kawasaki, Funabashi, and Morioka race course. And the notable races that'll be coming, these are the G1s, are going to be the Kawasaki Kinen, the Zen Nippon Junior Yushin, the Kashiwa Kinen, and the Mile Championship Nambu High. I'm probably saying those all completely wrong. But those are the 4 new G1s. 2 of them are the most relevant G1s. With these new races being added, there are some G2s and G3s as well. It's going to impact the titles, which is what they're going to mention down here. The completionist titles for like getting all the trophies or getting all the trophies on specific UMAs. You will now have to get these ones. Luckily, they're not going to make it any more difficult because you already had to get other dirt titles. You have to be able to, and they're same lengths as the other dirt ones. So if you could have beat the other ones, you'll be able to beat these ones. But if you've already got the title, you're not going to lose the title, even though they never did them. So just know that. And then also they're going to adjust the descriptions. So instead of saying the specific amount of G1s, like 30 G1s, it's just going to say all G1 trophies, all G2, all G3. So that's the basic update. Nothing too crazy, but more tracks being added. Now, how does this change your parent and grandparent runs? And right here is kind of my planned out calendar when it comes to the background auto. The manual will be a little bit different when it comes to making parents and grandparents, especially when it becomes easier and easier to get SS once we get into later scenarios, and you just by default can get an easy SS, and then you can like really abuse your UMAs on the races to maximize affinity. But this is my current setup for the back end or the background auto. And it has a very specific reason that it is. But first, before we talk about that, I'll show you where the new racetracks are. The first one, which is not really too relevant to parent and grandparents, is on the same day as the Hopeful Stakes, the Zen Nippon Junior Yushin here. Of course, you'll want to try and do it to get the trophies. But when it comes to parent making, Hopeful Stakes is always going to be the go-to. So unless this is like a goal-specific one, or you're getting it for completionist titles, you'll generally skip this one. Unless they can only do mile and dirt versus medium. But Hopeful Stakes is the main one there, so that one's not too relevant. The next one is right after the Sprinter Stakes, and that is the Mile Championship Nambu High. This is the one that I was always joking that we got the dirt races very early in the game here. This is where you can go like the super abuse route, where you have the Mile Championship and then the Champions Cup, and you do 7 G1s in a row right here. Same thing on the other end. But I have these kind of out of my plan, and I'll talk about that here in a second. So you have it there. It is also on the back half here, right after the Sprinter Stakes. So you have 2 attempts to go at it here. Then the other one is the Kawasaki Kinen, which is right before the February Stakes. That one is a really nice one, is it just kind of goes, you're not going to have 3 races in a row. It's just Kawasaki Kinen into the February Stakes. And then you get a break into the Osaka High. And then the last one is the same day as the Victoria Mile, the Kashiwa Kinen. This one will be a little bit more relevant as well, as when it comes to parents and grandparents, Victoria Miles they'll go to. Unless, of course, they can't do it. So UMAs like the UMAs that can't do, like the dirt-specific ones, are getting more G1s added. Although, all the scenarios, you're never going to want to go heavy racing with any of them anyway. But just know that now you have that one here. But you'll be primarily doing Victoria Mile still for parents and grandparents. And then, of course, this one has 2 places that it is at. Now, when we take a look at this, the reason I have the calendar the way it is, this is set up for doing the background auto. Now, things are interchangeable. And it's also interchangeable depending on the Uma's career, if they are forced to do specifically like Arima Keenan here, which I think a lot of people probably actually prefer Arima Keenan first to, I think, Tokyo Daishoden. To me, I want to go with Tokyo Daishoden here with Arima Keenan here, if possible. Some Umas are forced to do Arima Keenan first. And the reasoning is quite clear when I kind of explain how it works with the auto in a second. And that is these percentages here with the back end auto that cheats the system. They don't play the game in the same way when you do a manual run or if you do the manual auto. It's auto, but where it actually plays the game versus this one, which is just a 50-minute. It just takes 50 minutes. Once the 50 minutes ends, the algorithm runs and it creates your Uma. And this is your chance to win the races. And this is the calendar, in my opinion, that works the best for min-maxing out the affinities. And it allows for your Umas to not be like good at dirt or sprint. Because sprinter stakes, you can do both times. And when you look at the math here, as long as you're A in turf and G in sprint, you have a 50% chance to win it. And then on the second time around, you still have a 50%. So you have two 50-50 chances, which means it brings your odds up to a 75% chance that any Uma that has turf A can win the sprinter stakes. Now, if they are sprint F, for example, well, that makes it even higher because now you have two 60% chance. If they're E, 70%. So as you can see, sprinter stakes being at the very forefront before this, you just throw in there no matter what on the auto back end side of things. And after that, I'm trying to avoid the more than 3 races. So you get a minus 10% on 3 races. So if they're AA in both things, 110%, no big deal. You still have a 100% chance to win it. And so I never go over 3 races here because after that, it goes to a minus 25. And that is where I take the Champions Cup out here and I move it over here because you're always going to want to do Kikasho into the Queen Elizabeth into the Mile Championship. And then you skip the Champions Cup here to safely do this one. And this is why I say I prefer the dirt one to be here. And that is, of course, if your Uma's G in it, you don't want to get a races in an order and get a minus 10 or minus 25 when doing it and then bring it all the way down to a 25% chance, which then allows you to do it here. Now, you can kind of mix and match and change it over here. The problem is you're always going to want to do the Japan Cup / Mile Championship on both tracks. You're always going to have that here, so you're always going to have a potential 3 in a row here. And so if you wanted to, you could shift it up, switch the Queen Elizabeth over to here. Because one thing you'll notice I do not have on here, and it's something you'll do if you do a full manual run, is I am skipping the JPC Classic. We do everything up here the same, other than adding Kawasaki Keenan, but I drop the JPC Classic. There is no way to work this in where you're not having to do full Uma abuse here. Now, you can kind of reduce it a little bit by removing the sprinter stakes and gambling on only one of them, but you still get crazy low hits on Japan Champions and Arima Keenan as you go into 4, minus 25, 5, minus 35, 6, minus 50. If you drop just the JBC Classic here, you just go sprinter stakes, 50% chance to win it. You go into this one, dirt, depending on your affinity, 50 to 100% chance to win it. Tenno Show, you'll get a minus 10%. Most Umas should have a 110% chance to win this one if you're turf in medium A. So this one will be guaranteed win. You skip JBC Classic, so you've now reset the counter. Japan Cup should be a guaranteed win for a majority of Umas if they're medium and turf A. Into Champions Cup, no negative effects other than if they're dirt G, 50% chance to win. Into Arima Keenan, and this is the one where you would have a detrimental amount to it because you're now going 3 in a row, minus 10%. If they're not A and long, which there's a lot of Umas that are not, you can start seeing it get kind of reduced, not being 100%, but you can get it close to it. But if they're A and A, then guaranteed win on this one still. And this is why I prefer Arima Keenan here if you can do it. Because if you swap this around and you put Arima Keenan here and Tokyo Daishoden here on the autos, now you're getting a minus 10% to an Uma that potentially has a default of 50% chance, which then means you only have a 40% chance to win a Tokyo Daishoden versus a 50. That's the only reason I can swap them. But if they already have this as their goal, then you just do that, and now you have a 40% chance. And so when you're doing all these auto runs, you're on average, and someone else can do like the actual math. I'll let Lightburb or someone do the actual true math on the runs. But a lot of these are 50-50s on the dirts, plus the sprinter stakes is a 75% chance. So over the course of time, when you get those really good hits, you'll have runs where they win all these races. They win the 50-50s multiple times. And you're going to just stack up high affinity on the Umas, even when they are G in dirt, G in sprint, or whatever else they're G in, because they still have that shot here, as long as they are A in one thing. And when you count the amount of races there are here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That one's a repeat. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 24, each G1 with parent, the relationships is worth 3 points. So you can think that really, really stacks up. And just say the auto loses 4 of them, and you're down to 20. 20 times 3. That's still 60 affinity per match, and that's still massive amount of affinity amongst all of them, even with 4 of them not lining up. And that's the auto system. Now, of course, if you're going manual, really the only thing you change is if you're manually doing the run, especially into the future, when you easily get SS, regardless of how much races you do, because the system, like the cards are just so broken, you just add in the JBC Classic, and you just go this entire line. And of course, now when you're doing manual, sprinter stakes might be impossible if you're sprint G. The dirts, of course, will be not possible if you're dirt G. Although once we get really strong cards, you can start doing, from my understand, dirt E. Once our cards are really strong and able to carry up that very high power to offset the stats. But this is basically, that's it. That's the main change with the manual run. Of course, you can ditch the sprinter stakes here if you can win this one. You can maybe adjust things a little bit more. You can do the Champions Cup here in a manual run, and if you win it there, you can remove it. But ultimately, this is great. More races, 2 more to add potentially to your affinity. So it's just going to keep going up. Now, I don't think they add any more G1s past this point, but who knows? But this is it. This is the update. There isn't really too much to it, but Kopano Ricky is coming soon. I'll be making a full video on Kopano Ricky as well, as she's going to be a lot of people I know want to get her because she's very strong on dirts. So it'll probably be a longer Uma video when I cover her. But that's going to be pretty much it for this update. And if you like my content, if you could like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.